hey, I'm trying to break in as a screenwriter. I don't know if what I got is any good. This was Jake's line. But would you take a look at it for me and let me know? The most commonly asked question I ever get from any emerging writer, which is, how do I get representation?
Yeah.
It's literally, I think, in fact, we've been guests at classes on college campuses. We've done, all kinds of different things whereby we've gotten this question over and over and over again.
And I think it's a question all screenwriters get.
They do. Well, because here's the thing. If you're not a screenwriter, which if you're not, I'm not 100% sure why you're watching, unless you just love us.
Deeply attracted to you, Ben.
If you're not, getting representation is a big deal. It's a big deal as a screenwriter. I will say one thing to preface this. Getting representation, while important, is not the most important thing of your early screenwriting career.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I think focusing on writing a great script should be the most important thing that you're focusing on and honing your craft, because representation will come
as a side effect of that.
I
100% agree.
Focused on getting repped and not focused on writing great material, when the opportunity comes up, you aren't going to have the script that's going to get you repped. And, there was something that I was telling another emerging writer recently online that basically there's a lot of luck involved in a career in screenwriting, for sure. And I think you've said this before, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but I know Jake, he'll correct me.
Butcher away.
That it's not about whether luck will find you, but it's about whether you'll be ready when it does.
Yes.
And I think it's a great quote, because
luck is where opportunity meets preparation.
Opportunity meets preparation. That's another way to say it. It's actually a better way to say it, but mine is the more layman way of saying it. And I think that getting representation, there's a lot of things involved in it, and being prepared for the day when you have that opportunity is a big part of it. Now, things have changed since our early days. We've been doing this now for quite a long time. I got my very first lit manager in 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Before The Thirst.
Right.
That's how I ended up selling The Thirst.
Sure.
And then we got our first lit manager in 2000 and what was it? 9 or 10. 9 or 10.
9 or 10. Yeah.
And we're not with either of them anymore. Not that they're bad people, but that's one thing to know about representation is they can change. And
they can suck.
And they can suck. And they can also be wonderful and great.
They can also be great.
And just because you end up leaving someone doesn't mean they suck. And just because you end up staying with them doesn't mean
they're great. Yeah. It's going to be a question of going, is this working? Is this what I want it to be? And that can be from both sides. It really can be. Right. We didn't fire our first manager. He dropped us as clients.
True. It is true.
He was like, I haven't got time to work with developing young writers at the moment. Yeah.
So I think I'll start with what I think the best way to get representation is, and then you can piggyback off that. Number one, being prepared. That by far 100% write, have a great script that you love, that you believe in, and is the best possible version of a script that you can write at that point in your career. The script that got us repped is not the best script we've ever written, but at that moment in time, it was the best script we could write.
Yeah.
The second thing is it really is going to come down to most of the time networking. Now, I say most of the time because I would say there's a very small percentage of people who either get repped via querying, which I think happens less and less and less, but still probably happens, or off of one of the very few legit websites, a la something like theblacklist.com, where I know people who have found managers off of that.
Absolutely.
I wasn't a fan originally. I don't tend to like those websites, and then I've heard some good stories. And when you hear good stories, you go, oh, okay, that works for some people.
Yeah.
But I do think that the number one way to get your first rep is going to be through who you meet. And that doesn't mean nepotism. Let me be clear. It means who you meet, who you know through your broader circle of people. And sometimes that can be, if you don't have the opportunity to move to LA, which in another online forum, I was just saying that, nowadays in the pandemic, as a screenwriter, you don't have to live in LA, but I still think that the easiest way to break in is to be in LA, because that circle, that sphere of people around you, the odds of them having someone in that sphere who could give you a referral are much greater. It's very hard. I don't think I know a single person in LA, or have known a single person in LA for now 24 years, who didn't at least know one other person in the entertainment industry, even if they weren't. So my wife, not in the entertainment industry, never has been. Knows lots of people.
So many.
You can't get away from them, whether they're casting directors or producers or executives or writers or actors or whatever. We all, when you live here, that is the population that you're going to surround yourself with, especially if you're a writer. So you're in those spheres already. So from there, you have a network of people, and then you find the right opportunity. Jake did this for us in a very amazing way. You've written about it in a thread on Twitter, and possibly even on your blog.
I think I did it on the blog as well. Yeah.
And it's it was the perfect way to do it, because it was being out in a social thing where there's no pressure, and you're with someone who you may not know great, but you at least know through someone you know. And you can very nicely and hopefully tactfully say, hey, I'm trying to break in as a screenwriter. I don't know if what I got is any good. This was Jake's line. But would you take a look at it for me and let me know? And I thought it was great, because it's like, I'm not asking you to help me that way. I'm just asking for your opinion. And that's because I value your opinion. Now, I'm going to caveat that with, people get asked to read stuff a lot. But do not be offended if the person you ask does not read what you ask them to read. Keep trying.
Totally.
And maybe not with that person. Maybe it's another person. But that generally tends to be, I think, the way it happens for most people. Occasionally, I'll go back to my first manager in 2004. My then writing partner, Liz, happened to be waiting at her job on a lovely man, Todd Feldman, who became our manager, because he wanted to know what she was doing outside of waiting. And she said, I'm a writer. And he said, oh, well, you seem like a really nice person. You want to send me something? That's how that happened.
And that's it, isn't it?
Yep.
And that's it. Yeah.
So, I don't know. What would you like to pick?
I mean, I think it's so difficult today from where we are, even over the last 14 years. Because again, I just think the landscape is so very different today. There are people who've been discovered on Twitter and social media forums. Managers are looking for good material. They also get fucking sent loads of it. Loads of it. Absolutely. I mean, there's a manager I follow on Twitter who just will say, got a query today. And it will just be, he'll reference, and you get awful.
Yeah.
People are willing to do anything to stand out of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, including finding someone's home address.
Not cool. When I use the word tactful, so important, guys.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And the reality is that your concept should be unique and saleable.
Yeah.
You know, and you should be able to go, hey, here it is. It should just, so basically it just comes down to write a great screenplay and pitch it well.
Yeah.
If you're going to be using today's online.
If you're going to do online, yeah.
You know, there are various.
I don't have the balls for that. Honestly, like, I was never good at the cold network. Like, I never was good at mixers or like going to like industry parties.
I would never do it. But online today, I find it to be interesting. There are several like pitch events that happen. I've seen them a few times on Twitter where it's like, you know, pitch your log line. Again, I have my own opinions about it, but I'm not doing it. You know, I worry that those, again, is it a naive worry to go, anyone can take that idea. You know, will they be able to execute it in the same way? No, but, you know, might go, that's a fantastic idea for a story. Maybe I'll go and write that.
It happens, but you can't worry about it.
It happens, but you can't. I mean, it could happen in any way.
Someone's out there writing our script that we're talking about right now.
I'm sure they are. They've actually got it down. They're actually just about to like fade out.
As we're going through it, they've already finished a draft. But you know,
so you know, I think, like I said, I think today it's slightly different. But again, I think it's how you are representing yourself online, how you are communicating what you're working on, how you're not coming across as needy, but also like I have something to offer, and I've written this thing, and I'm really proud of it, and I think it's great, and I think you'd be the right person for it. You know,
there's a couple of competitions I would say that are good ways in, but they're very few. Nickel, everybody always talks about Nickel. I feel like Coverfly is getting a lot of
Coverfly is getting a lot of attention, and I remain on the fence about it because there's some stuff I read last year about that just made me kind of go, oh, it's all just one company.
Oh, really?
You know, again, I don't
all of them.
I don't know what is true, what's not. I hear good things about Coverfly, so I don't have an opinion on Coverfly. Nate Davis, our dear friend Nate, who we are working with at the moment on one of his things. I think he interviewed a whole bunch.
Check out his YouTube.
Go and check out
I wish I actually had it. We'll put it in the comments.
See if we can get it.
Because
find it and put it up. Nate's great. In fact, Nate's going on a podcast.
Videos.
I think Nate texted me and he's going on a podcast on Friday. He's being interviewed, and I just saw it on Screenwriting Reddit as well. So he's great. But anyway, he goes into going into all of these competitions and going, you know. But I think you have to do things very sparingly, just very sparingly.
Desperation is never a good thing either.
Yeah, I agree.
People smell it. This was a lesson that I never fully learned as an actor, but finally learned when I became a screenwriter. It just took me a while, which is people don't like desperate people, which is hard because we're all desperate when we're starting out.
Right.
We all want to go, please, please, please like my script. Please, please, please like me. Please, please, please represent me. And yet that is like the biggest turnoff ever. It's like being, you know, trying to go out on pick someone up on a date and being
I was going to say,
go out with me. And everyone's like,
really what you want to be is like, I've written this script, but you can't have it.
Right. Play hard to get. No, that's probably not going to work for you. But just be cool about it. You know, like you can be honest and sincere without being desperate.
Totally.
And I think that is a good place to be, and grateful without being desperate.
You
know.
And the last, I know that it's going to be different for everyone. One of the things that I always remember Craig Mazin talking about getting representation. He was asked the question, how do you get an agent? He's like, well, I can tell you how I got an agent, but it's going to be totally different from you.
Totally.
It's just going to be different. But again, I would say at all times, generally,
you start to hear similar stories.
You start to see
Yeah, there's a pattern of people. I would say I'm going to add two things to this. One, your best way in from a networking standpoint is not another artist, actor, unless they're a celebrity. That's a different story. Writer, director. They're again, unless they're like huge, that's another story. But the best way is through probably either a producer, a studio executive, or an assistant. Because those are the people that that representation trust. They don't trust us. Even though we're their clients, they're going to trust a producer's opinion on a script more than they're going to trust our opinion on a script. That's just the truth of it. And then the whole thing of, a bad agent or a bad manager can be worse than none. I still believe that. I don't think it's worth putting yourself into a box that isn't helping you, because then you're not open to other possibilities. Because again, what is it that you said? Luck is when opportunity and meets preparation. Well, if you're not available, then that opportunity will not be available. So, go for and sign with people you truly believe are going to help you.
Yes.
And that is my little intro on that part of the business.